Hi, welcome to Simple Shifts Conversations to Fuel the Body, Mind, and Soul. I'm Martha McKinnon from the blog Simple Nourished Living, and with me is my brother and partner, Peter Morrison.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Really well. It's been a good week. It's already Wednesday in my world. What day is it in your world?
Same.
So today, I'm really excited to explore Weight Watchers a little bit, and specifically Weight Watchers virtual meetings, they're virtual workshops. I'm dating myself when I say meeting. I'm showing my age. They're workshops. It's been a while, truthfully, since I had tuned in, and I was online recently taking a look at the wide range of offerings, and so I'm excited to share a little bit more about that with readers because there may be other people who haven't tuned in for a while or maybe aren't familiar with the Weight Watchers virtual world. But before we dive into that, what's new and wonderful in your world?
We are on podcast episode number 19,
Okay.
which is good. Um, as we stumble and bumble our way through topics and trying to figure out this whole online world of which kind of is not unrelated to this topic of Weight Watchers virtual meetings.
Right.
But I just had a couple other thoughts. One was you had mentioned new and good couple thoughts. You've been talking a lot recently and writing a lot recently about component meal prep, and while I haven't gone to the extent you have of doing a lot of prep on Sunday, I have been kind of moving towards that direction or leaning in towards that direction, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And I have to say for a small family of two, it's making mealtime much easier. And
I'm not sure component's the right word. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no,
sorry.
no.
Yeah. Go ahead. But keep going. Sorry. I
No,
get
and I was
excited.
just gonna say it's making mealtime less stressful and easier, and it's something I want. I think there's something there. I just, as far as helping people, I just think we have to figure out the best way to write about it and present it.
Yeah, what I'm imagining and because it takes a little while again to figure it out or figure out how best to talk about it. And in a perfect world, I guess we could have a studio in our kitchen where we could,
Hmm.
maybe I can do that. Maybe I can take some video on Sunday of what, and maybe it's just little video snippets where I share what I kind of put together on a Sunday when I talk about. So really what we're talking about is cooking basic ingredients that you can then mix and match that don't really require recipes. So it sets you up for success all week long. And like you're mentioning, it's easy. It takes a lot of stress out of mealtime because you're never starting from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have to make one component. Maybe you finished your protein and maybe you have to grill some chicken or something, but you're going to have some grain, some beans, some veg all ready to go. And so it really is a magical approach to, I'm finding it very
Mm-hmm.
helpful. I've done it for 2 or 3 weeks now. And so I do imagine in a future podcast and in some future posts sharing more detail where I show the ingredients, talk about the ingredients, and then share what I ended up making during the week from those because you don't need a specific plan and it can change. I know here we're in Wisconsin at this time of the year, the weather's very unpredictable. So it might be it might be sunny and 80 one day and it might be in the 60s and rainy the next. And it gives me that flexibility to take some of those ingredients, add some broth, which I didn't make a soup if I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling sort of, cold. And so, yeah, so I'm glad that you're playing with it too, because the more we play, and have different experiences, the more we can just sort of bounce ideas off one another and help people, I think. Because I think it is a very realistic, low stress approach to feeding ourselves.
For sure.
Good.
For me, I felt like not scrambling necessarily, but trying to find a new recipe. And like you
Mhm.
said, starting from scratch, like 3 or 4 dinners a week, it just, and I mean, this is not, no kids, no crazy schedules. It's just my work schedule, 2 of us. I mean, and that was stressful enough trying to come up with meals. So
Right.
I'm really, really enjoying it and looking to sort of keep going with it.
Awesome. I'm glad you're
Yeah.
experimenting because I've had that same. I can get a little evangelical, and I find something that works, and I'm always excited when other people sort of get on board and experiment and have the same experience that I have. So
Hmm.
cool. That's great.
And the other sort of new and good, not new and good, but sort of throwback to something we talked about with simple habits and tiny changes. A while ago, several podcast episodes ago, I mentioned starting to do just like a couple push-ups here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've continued to most days. Some days I do take some days off because I do think rest is as important as exercise. But I'm still like I'm up now to well over 30 push-ups, which again is not, you know.
It's impressive from 0 to 30 over
Yeah.
just a few weeks. I
And I've
think that's
actually visited, we have a small gym here at the community. I've actually visited a couple times because sometimes, and I think this is the power of the tiny habit, is you do you do one or two and it just sort of builds, and I tend to keep going, and I got to the point where I wanted to do more than just push-ups. So, I wanted to do more shoulder exercises or chest exercises or back exercises. So, again, and it hasn't led to me going to the gym 5 days a week, but I've gone several times sort of when my schedule allows and when I feel like I want to go and I'm in a good place. So
well,
it's well, yeah,
congratulations.
it's
That's
interesting to watch that evolution of
mm-hmm. And I think the
change.
whole, yeah, I mean, I guess Tiny Habits, Atomic Habits, I can't probably, those are other books that I can't recommend highly enough because they're just full of explaining why this approach to habit building and behavior change is so powerful. It's undeniably proven,
Mhm.
uh, and and it's so simple that we discount it. We don't
Mhm.
believe it until we
Mhm.
experience it for ourselves. So good for you.
Yeah.
Because Tiny Habits talks a lot about celebrating, right? Celebrating your habit. So are you doing that? Are you finding ways to give yourself a fist pump or
No, it
high
just
five
feels
yourself
good.
or
I just
yeah,
I wanna do it and it feels good, and I'm happy for myself that I'm doing it, and especially with aging and, working on balance and strength, and I just think that's
yeah,
all important.
it is. I mean,
So
balance, flexibility, strength
mhm.
is also important as we age. We just naturally lose muscle mass, right? Just through life. And so we have to counter that with
Mhm.
working our bodies in ways that we might not have when we were younger. So go, Peter. That's great.
Yay.
Yay.
What about you? Anything new and good to report on your end?
Everything. I feel like everything's new and good. And that's something to explore, I think, in the future. I've been thinking about that in a future episode here. I kind of fell down a rabbit hole in December. It all started with one book that has led now to, I think I've read over 30 books on the topic, along with podcasts and other explorations. And, we've talked a lot about mindless eating. And we've shared some videos and podcasts about that. Mindless Eating was one of those books that I read that totally changed my world. It helped me understand that I wasn't broken. And this whole
Mhm.
concept, it's called it goes by different names, but it's called the Three Principles or the Inside Out Understanding. And it's founded in the teachings of a Scottish mystic, I guess you would call him, Sid Banks. And so that's been so positive for me. Every day I wake up. It's interesting because one of the comments that comes to mind is that nothing has changed, but everything's different as a result
Mm,
of this understanding. And so that's something I look forward to sharing down the road when I feel better able to kind of talk about it and articulate it in a way that makes sense. So
cool.
it's funny. I've always said I want to wake up feeling like Scrooge on Christmas morning. I'm here, I'm alive, it's a wonderful day, and I'm at that point where I do wake up with that feeling, and so that's been very new and good in my world.
Well, awesome. That'll be fun to learn more about as you get more comfortable
Yeah,
and
yeah. So I look forward to that exploration with a wider audience as well.
nice.
Yeah. So another what we're going to talk about today is Weight Watchers. Everybody knows, I'm a longtime Weight Watchers lifetime member. I spent some time in Phoenix years ago as a receptionist and what was called leader back then, became coach later. And we all know that COVID resulted in Weight Watchers having to switch from in-person meetings to virtual. And so they took their workshops and they put them online, which made it very convenient because you could sign in, with one of many different uh, coaches and, do the meeting in your pajamas, do it virtually. Everything's done through Zoom. And so basically that's how Weight Watchers started in the virtual world. They had never done online meetings until the time of COVID. And that would have been now back in 2020. So now we are in 2025. And to be quite honest, I've gotten out of the habit of checking in with meetings. And for some reason, I don't know, I just had this inclination to get online and check out a meeting. I was looking for my own inspiration, motivation. I've always thought of the workshops. I've said to myself many times that back in the day, I found the workshop to be, I called it 30 minutes of sanity, kind of in an out of control food world. It was just a nice place to go get grounded, to share challenges, to share successes, to learn and from other people, food finds. It was always just a great place to just get new ideas. And I was blown away um, when I checked in recently and attended a workshop because I started scanning through the offerings for the day, and the catalog of classes, online workshops now has just grown extensively. You always have that weekly meeting or the weekly workshop where there's always a technique discussed, and it has a typical format where they share their successes, they talk about maybe their challenges, and then you go through whatever the topic of the week was. When I tuned in most recently, the topic was all around taking some of your healthy habits with you on vacation and not just abandoning everything. So what could you pack to take with you when you're out of your routine or on vacation? And I thought that was very interesting. So there's always a topic, a technique that's explored, and then a little time at the end to set and think about what your intentions are, your goals for the coming week. And so that's great. That's a standard class that gets offered over and over again throughout the week. But beyond that, there's a whole catalog of offerings that also even includes activity now. And so there are activity classes. I signed up and took part in a 20-minute breathe and stretch class that was very gentle, mind body class where you were able to sit in a chair and the coach took you through sort of a body scan to sort of check in with yourself, took you through some breathing exercises and then some gentle stretches in 20 minutes. There are other activity classes that include what they call walk and talk, where the leader's there and everybody sort of just gets out listens on their phone and takes a walk together while supporting one another and getting motivated. And so I'm interested in exploring more of those. There's something called dance break and a couple of other activity classes. And again, I don't belong to a gym. Most of my activity comes from either yoga that I do or walking. So I'm interested in checking out. I found the breathe and stretch.
Hmm.
So if anybody's, a member and wants to check that one out, I thought it was great.
So
Uh,
with these workshops or classes, are all the participants muted, or are you able to actually?
So it depends. It depends on the particular class. Like during the workshop, you can raise your hand. There's usually two people. You've got usually the workshop um, coach, but there's usually another coach there, kind of running the dashboard, if you will, helping oversee muting people, unmuting people, letting people know what's getting shared. As you type in chat. So it's really a tag team
Okay.
approach to keep the workshop moving. With the stretch class, everybody was muted, and you always have the opportunity of whether or not you want to be on camera or not. You can just have your camera turned off so that you can be participating but not showing up. Some of the workshops are set up, for example, with the weekly technique one, there's an abridged version of it, sort of the express version. So if you don't want to take part in all of the sharing that goes on, it's basically just the leader doing in a webinar style, hitting off the technique for that week. So if you're short on time and you just want to know the technique, there's a 15-minute offering for that for people who are short on time. And then so we've got activity, we've got the weekly workshop. We had what's called just sort of your Weight Watchers 101 offering, where there are about 4 different classes there where you can get a deep dive into, if you're new to Weight Watchers, to better understand the program, and then one to better understand the app, sort of take you through the in and outs of the app.
Okay.
Another one to talk about tracking, and how to track. So then there's a whole tool and techniques library, which probably has at least 15 or so classes that cover lots of mindset type topics. So self-compassion, journaling, dealing with your planning, goal setting. If you have issues around perfectionism, if you have areas that are, sort of tying you up, if you have issues around not liking to weigh yourself, there's one called Weigh With Me, where you can actually step on the scale and have a coach there, kind of supporting you through that and talking you through it. So and then there's all these community meetings. So they've got all these workshops around food. So if you're a foodie, you can get together at a specific time and talk about favorite food finds, different food topics, meal planning. I tuned into one of those as well, and the topic was all around grilling. So you had 2 leaders, just who were really avid grillers, sharing their favorite tools, their spices, their sauces, and things that they liked, different recipes that they really enjoyed on the grill. And again, these are all interactive, so you are able to ask questions and participate. So I was just, and then community meetings. So for people over 60, for people who are on the GLP-1 meds, specific workshops for that, for people who maybe have more than 100 pounds to lose. There's a group for that. For women of color, any kind of group that you could think of is kind of represented in these communities so that you can bond there. And then what the workshop leaders are doing in the regular workshops is then creating In Connect, which is that area of the app where you can it's like the Instagram or Facebook, within Weight Watchers, where you can be sharing photos, sharing questions. They've created groups there so that you can really start to feel like a community. If you happen to go to, Coach Becky's Tuesday at 10 o'clock workshop, then, or if you're familiar with Coach Becky, you can join her group and sort of be sharing in that way too, beyond just the workshops. They can take it a step further into Connect. So I'm really re-enthused. Because when I think about it, I really believe that what makes Weight Watchers special, what always made it special, was the community, and the support of that. And the only way to get that for a long time was, in those weekly in-person meetings. But now you just have this way to build community and get support, from like 5:30 in the morning into early evening. In 5 years, there's been a lot of change that just kind of escaped me because I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't tuning in. I've been so focused on what we're doing that I hadn't taken the time to check in with what Weight Watchers was doing. And so I just wanted to let everybody know about that because I am genuinely excited. I'm excited to check out more, especially around, being a food person, checking out more of those food topics and some of the activity topics. So it's just a much more robust offering than it was when when they made that transition to virtual, 5 years ago.
So these are available to any Weight Watchers member. I don't know if they're just different levels. If
No,
you're
so yes, it's basically once you've signed up. I mean, I think the only difference would be if you I'm not sure if the offering is the same if you're actually attending in-person workshops, and those have gotten harder to find. I think you have to be in more of a major market. A lot of people have found that if they were in a smaller community that those meetings went away. They just didn't have enough people showing up to justify their continuance. So,
Mm,
uh, so yeah, so there's just there's not different levels. So if you're a Weight Watchers, because I have the most basic, membership, and I'm able to just tap into all of that. Um, yeah.
are the excuse me, are these online offerings? Is there like a library of them where you could go in and watch them anytime, or do you have to?
So you have to attend live, so they're not
Okay.
recorded. Yeah, and I think I mean, my mind, it would be a space issue, and I think it would be a
Mm-hmm.
privacy issue because so many members are participating. That's my only thought, is that would bring up a lot of privacy issues if they were to record those and make them available. So right now there is a library, however, of articles, which is very powerful too. It's a huge library of a lot of technique information, a lot around mindset, and that is available through the. I've only been able to find it on the app. I haven't been able to find it on the website itself, but it is on the app. Which can be really helpful too if you just want to go research a particular issue, if you have a specific question.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of online articles, but you can't go back and watch, a workshop that happened this morning. You have to watch it live.
Wow. Very
Yeah.
cool. I guess
Yeah.
they're adapting to the times, right? The So many people are on the go these days and working from home and here and there, and it gives you the flexibility if you're traveling, if you're, like you said, out in the country and don't have access to in person. It's a great
Absolutely. And
tool.
so that's cool, but also like
Mm,
just the diversity. If you have a
mm,
specific issue,
mm.
if you're struggling with your positivity, or if you're struggling with perfectionism, or if you really need help around planning, that's what got me excited. In addition to that weekly workshop, there's a whole bunch of other topics that are being explored. So there's something that's sort of like there's something for everybody. If you're really into food, there's food. If you're really into activity, there's
Mhm.
that. So if you're focusing on, mindset, behavior shifts, habits, there's workshops for you there as well. So that's it.
Excellent.
My plug for Weight Watchers, and just how they've expanded, and how I guess it's just important for me to remember that life is always changing, and you got to keep checking in. Sometimes I can become a creature of habit, and I just make this assumption that I know what's going on because I
Mhm.
attended a few years ago, and that's a good reminder for me to always be double checking myself and not be assuming that I know what it looks like, because I didn't know anymore what it looked
Mhm.
like. It was just very different, and in a very positive way.
Well, and now we know with the reader comments and the people who write in wanting support or missing that in-person support. Now we know, and you know that.
Exactly. So I feel in a much more informed place to direct
Mhm.
them and to let them
Mhm.
know. And I intend to explore more. And a good question for readers would be, if you are taking part in these virtual meetings, if you have favorite coaches, if you have favorite topics, share those in the comments so that so other people can benefit from that
Um,
information.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing. And if you found this video helpful or think you know someone who might benefit, please share with them. And if you can like and subscribe and help us grow our channel, we'd be very appreciative of that.
We sure would. Keep us keep us going with
Right.
a little atta girl, atta boy.
Well, great. We'll sign off for today unless you have anything else.
Nope, that's
No.
it. Just onward and upward. And I hope everybody has a great week, and we'll be back soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye bye.